I am making an update for my Tombkeeper deck profile. That this is more or less a pure version, as I can see a couple arguments for why it wouldn't be, but I absolutely love this deck, and it can do a few dirty things. There's a few things I do want to change still, but for now it's not that big of a deal. And last time I played this deck, I actually got second place with it, as I only lost because I saw nothing but hand traps against Crystron, and kind of hard to win when all you have are hand traps. Anyway, so starting off with the monsters, I play 3 copies of the Man with the Mark. The Man with the Mark has the effect that when it's normal or special summoned, you can then add one Temple of the Kings or a spell trap that mentions Temple of the Kings from your deck to your hand. And then while this card and Temple of the Kings are in play, then itself and your Apophis cards cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect, and your Temple of the Kings cannot be destroyed by card effect. Then next, I play 1 copy of my favorite Tombkeeper monster, which is Merciless Scorpion of Circuit. You only need 1, as I found out, as it's extremely searchable and it can be recycled with the next card. But Merciless Scorpion of Circuit has the effect that you can special summon it, or while Temple of the Kings is in play, you can special summon it by... Or it cannot be normal set, must be special summoned by its own effect, and then while Temple of the Kings is in play, you can banish a level 10 or higher monster from your deck to special summon this card. And then at the start of the damage step, if it battles a monster, then you can banish that monster, and if you do, it gains half of that banished monster's original attack. And then next, I play 3 copies of Anubis the Last Judge. Anubis the Last Judge has the effect that you can discard it to the graveyard to then target the Man with the... add the Man with the Mark from your deck to your hand, and then you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard, as long as you have 3 or more cards that mention Temple of the Kings and or traps. And that by taking 2 of those cards and put them on the bottom of the deck in any order. And then, if a spell or trap on your field is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, then you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. That last effect doesn't really come up very often, but I do like that it's there. And then lastly, for the actual monsters, I play 1 copy of Lord of the Heavenly Prison. The card has the effect that you can have it in your hand revealed until the end of your opponent's next end phase, so that while it's revealed, your spells and traps can't be destroyed by card effect. And then during your opponent's main phase, as a quick effect, you can special summon it. If you activate a spell or trap card, I forget how this card is worded. Let's see. If a set spell or trap card is activated, except in the damage step, you can special summon this card in your hand. Then, if you activate this effect while it was revealed, there you go. You can now set a trap from your deck, but I can't remember. You can reveal and set a spell or trap directly from your deck, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. Okay, remember there was something there. I just kept thinking it's like it can activate this turn, it can't activate this turn. I could never remember. So usually you'll use this to set something that goes with whatever you set off of one of the extra deck monsters, which I'll explain it more when I get to it. Next, I play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler has the effect that during your opponent's main phase, a quick effect, you can discard this card to the graveyard, target an effect monster your opponent controls, and negate its effects. Next, I play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. This just lets you negate any card or effect that would let a card from deck be added to hand, a card be summoned from deck, or a card go from deck to grave. Next, I play 3 copies of Molcharmi Fualos. Fualos and the next one, which is 3 copies of Molcharmi Perulia, have the effect that you can only activate their effects while you can have no cards. But you can discard them to the graveyard to then make it so that when your opponent does certain things, you get to draw a card. You can only use 2 Molcharmi effects per turn. And at the end of the turn, if you have more cards in your hand than your opponent does on field, +6, you randomly shuffle cards from your hand back into the deck until you have... That was it worded. You face the number of cards in your hand is more than the number of cards your opponent controls, +6. Okay. You just randomly shuffle cards in your hand back into the deck until it's equal to the number of cards your opponent controls, +6. I can never remember what that was. But you can only activate 2 Molcharmi effects per turn. Perulia makes so that every time your opponent summons normal or special summons from hand, you get to draw a card. And then Fuwalos makes it so every time your opponent summons from deck or extra deck, you get to draw a card. And that's it for the monster hand traps. To actually finish off the hand traps, is 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence can be activated from hand if you control no cards. But unless you target one effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects, and then this card was set when it was activated, then also negates all spells and traps in its column. Which, if you use that on your turn, be careful, because if you activate a spell or trap in the same column this card was in, then that card will be negated by the impermanence. Now, moving on to the spells, I play 1 copy of Defense of the Temple. It's extremely searchable and also recyclable, so it just lets you fusion summon a monster that mentions Temple of the Kings, and then if you use a monster on your field, you can also use one monster your opponent controls as material as well, which in this deck would be any monster that has 2,500 or less attack. Then I play 1 copy at Temple of the Kings. This card just has the effect that once per turn, you can activate a trapped card the same turn it was set. And then lastly, for one of spells, is 1 copy of Terraforming. This just lets you add a field spell from your deck to your hand. And to finish off the spells, I play 3 copies of Treasures of the Kings. Treasures of the Kings has the effect that while it's on field, its name becomes Temple of the Kings. And then when it's activated, you can set an Apophis trap directly from your deck. And then lastly, once per turn, if you have 2 or more set cards, or you have a trap card in your graveyard, then you can add 1 monster from your deck to your hand that mentions Temple of the Kings. Moving on to traps, I play 1 copy of Quantum Cat. Quantum Cat has the effect that when it's activated, then you can change its type, or declare a type and attribute, and it becomes that type. With this deck, when it's activated, usually it becomes a Wind-Winged Beast. You can probably already figure out where this is going. And next, I also play 1 copy of Statue of English Pattern. Statue of English Pattern has the effect that if you activate a continuous trap that would summon itself as a monster, then you can activate Statue of English Pattern's effect to then target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it. That is not once per turn. I just want to point that out. Then next I play 1 copy of Embodiment of Apophis. This card can only activate during the main phase, but it's just a trap monster. And then next I play 1 copy of what honestly is my favorite trap of the entire deck. That is 1 copy of Verdict of Anubis. Verdict of Anubis has the effect that when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, then you can negate that card, and then if you have Temple of the Kings in play, you can then destroy all monsters your opponent controls, and then inflict damage to your opponent equal to half of their combined original attack. And you can only activate 1 Verdict of Anubis per turn, but it is searchable and recyclable, so you really only need to play 1, and this card is the only actual Tombkeeper card I saw against Crystron, and I saw 2 of them since I was playing 3, so I figured I'll cut it down to 1. Then next, I play 2 copies of Apophis the Serpent. Apophis the Serpent you can probably also get away with only playing 1 of, but I like 2. Apophis the Serpent has the effect that when this card's activated, you can set an Apophis trap in your deck that can activate that turn. And then if Serpent of Apophis is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 copy of Embodiment of Apophis from your deck to your hand. Next, I play 3 copies of the absolute most broken trap monster of the deck, which is 3 copies of Apophis, the Swamp Deity. This card is not once per turn. I just want to say that right now. But during the main phase, you can special summon it as a trap monster, and then And then after it is summoned, you can then negate cards in your opponent's field up to the number of other continuous traps in your monster zone. So if you have Apophis, a Serpent, Statue of Anguish Pattern, Apophis, and say Apophis, a Swamp Deity, or Apophis Swamp Deity, a Divine. Bleh. Let's just say you have those two, and you activate this. This will be able to summon itself as a monster, and then it can negate 2 cards your opponent controls. And then the other thing I'm trying with this deck is 3 copies of Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon. Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon has the effect that you flip everything face down, and then any monsters that are left face up on the field after everything's been flipped are sent to the graveyard. So a fun fact about the trap monsters, while they're in the monster zone, they take up the same spell and trap zone that they were set in, because if they get set, they return to the spell and trap zone. So you can actually use this as a way of protecting something like Statue of Anguish Pattern, which I think is actually kind of funny. And then lastly, just because I'm trying it again, is 3 copies of Harpy's Featherstorm. You can activate this card as long as you control a Wind-Winged Beast, hence why Quantum Cat is always declared as Wind-Winged Beast. But basically when this card's activated, it makes it so that all your opponent's activated monster effects for the turn are negated. And then it has 2 other effects, but those don't usually matter, as you don't play Harpy Lady, and Harpy's Feather Duster is on the side deck. And usually this gets sided out when Harpy's Feather Duster is being sided in. I believe it's currently a 43 card deck, though I can easily make it 41 by taking out 2 copies of Featherstorm, but I'd rather play 3. Moving on to the extra deck. The extra deck, there's still a few things I want to work on. Mainly just because it's merely a thing of preference. But I play 1 copy of IP Masquerena. Masquerena just makes so that during the main phase, or during your opponent's main phase, you can link summon using this card you control. And a link monster that's link summoned using this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. Next, I play 1 copy of Silhouette Rabbit. Silhouette Rabbit's the thing I need to change with this deck, because I need to be playing 2, but I only have 1. So I figured for now I'll just play IP Masquerena or one of the other Link monsters, Link 2s, which technically everything this extra deck is linked to. But Silhouette Rabbit has the effect that when it's summoned, you can say a continuous trap that would summon itself, that has the effect of summoning itself as a monster. It can't be, and monsters, or this card and monsters at battles can't be destroyed in battle. I think that's how it was worded. Okay, if this card battles, neither can be destroyed in that battle. That's how it was worded. And then its other effect is if a continuous trap was activated that summoned itself as a monster, when it resolves, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy that card. Or I believe you target a spell or trap specifically. Let's see, check this just to be safe. Yep. Targets this 1 spell trap your opponent controls and destroy it. It's on resolution. Then next, I play 1 copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight has the effect if you link summon it using a Link, Fusion, Synchro, or Xyz monster. Then you can target 1 card on the field or in the graveyard, banish it. But if you use that effect, you cannot attack directly that turn. And then if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can activate SP Little Knight's effect in response, targeting a monster you control and 1 other monster on the field, banish both until the end of the turn. And you can only use each effect of SP Little Knight once per turn. And then next I play 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix. Nightmare Phoenix has the effect that when it's link summoned, you can discard a card to then target 1 spell trap card your opponent controls and destroy it. Just want to check a thing real quick. That's what I thought. And then if Phoenix was co-linked when that effect was used, then at the resolution of that, you get to draw 1 card. What I'm thinking about taking out for a second Silhouette Rabbit is either Nightmare Phoenix or IP Masquerena. As of the moment, Masquerena's only purpose is summoning SP Little Knight on the opponent's turn to banish a card that they probably need. And then next, I play 1 copy of Gaga Cowboy. This is just for time, or when it gets close to time, like say time is called and you have 8,000, both players have 8,000 life points in game 3. As Gaga Cowboy has the effect that while it's in defense position, you can detach material, inflict 800 points of damage to your opponent. And it's because of things like this that make me wish the time rules were back to both players get 2 turns, and at the end of the third turn, which I believe it usually the count is like turn 0, 1, 2, 3. At the end of turn 3, whoever has more life points wins. That was a lot more fair than end of phase. Next, I play 1 copy of Baguska. This is just in case I need to try to stall for a little bit of time, as when Baguska's in defense mode, it makes so that all monsters on the field are switched to defense position, and then any monsters activated monster effects that are of monsters in defense position are negated. However, Link monsters easily get around Baguska. Just going to say that now. Next, I play 1 copy of Gallant Granite. Gallant Granite has the effect that you can detach material to add a rock monster from deck to hand. So normally what Gallant Granite will do is detach material, add Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Or if I'm playing Nibiru, it can also technically add Nibiru as well. And then next is a card I'm trying just because I realize there's actually quite a few level 6 monsters in the deck. So I'm playing 1 copy of Triple D Wave High King Caesar. This card is just a, for some reason, not once per turn. If your opponent would special summon a monster, you can detach material and negate the summon if you destroy that monster. And then I play 1 copy of Aggregator. This is just in here as a Ultimate Slayer target. And then lastly, I play for the Xyz monsters. I play 1 copy of Superstar. How's it worded? Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis. This card can be special summoned using the monster on your field with the highest attack, your choice of a tie, in which your opponent, or as long as in the previous turn your opponent has summoned at least 2 monsters from the extra deck. Sky Crisis negates all activated monster effects that have 3,000 or more attack, and then once per turn you can detach material to target 1 monster on the field and return it to the owner's hand. For Synchros, I only play one, which is Sci-Fi Mode Omega. This is only in here, again, for an Ultimate Slayer target. As the Omega has the grave effect of being able to target 1 other card in your graveyard, shuffle both that card and this card back into the deck. So you play against a Synchro deck, then Ultimate Slayer can just let you send it to grave, send a Synchro, and then you can recycle itself in another card that you want back. For the fusions, I play 3 copies of Divine Serpent Apophis. Divine Serpent Apophis has the effect that you fusion summon it by either using 2 Apophis monsters, or you can special summon it by tributing 2 Apophis monsters you control. And then, once per turn, you can activate its effect, target up to 3 different Apophis traps in your graveyard, set them to your field. And then lastly, I play 1 copy of Divine Scorpion. Can I remember the thing's full name? Divine Scorpion Beast of Circuit. Divine Scorpion Beast of Circuit has the effect that when this card is special summoned, or an opponent activates a monster effect, I believe that's how it was. It's either when it activates a monster effect or battles. Okay, when this card is special summoned or at the start of the damage step, then you can target 1 monster your opponent controls or in the graveyard, banish it, and if you do, it gains half of that monster's original attack. And then it gets 2 attacks during each battle phase as long as you have a level 10 or higher monster banished. Which in this version of the deck will be a copy of Anubis the Last Judge, as you summon this by using the Merciless Scorpion Circuit on your field and an opponent's monster with 2,500 or less attack. But that is it for my Tombkeeper deck profile. If you have any ideas that decks like to see be made in the future, decks like to see face each other, or any ideas for how to improve this deck, comment below. I always read the comments. Thank you for watching.